Live now to One Nation founder and leader Pauline Hanson in Queensland. Thanks for joining us, Pauline. Surely allowing people who have voluntarily joined the Islamic Caliphate under ISIS back into this country poses a security risk.
Of course it does, Chris. I'm really angry, disgusted. I don't have the words to explain how I feel about this, and I don't think I think any differently to millions of other Australians out there how they feel about this. I tell people I'm really concerned about their ideology, their belief, why they went over there, and we've allowed them back in, and it costs about $2 million per person to actually look after them for their security, national security, for the rest of life, because I'll tell you, they won't be getting jobs, and then there are children on top of it. We are fools, absolutely fools. I wouldn't have them anywhere near this place. The government had to give passports to them. You know, why didn't they not give them passports? They say you can't displace them if they're Australian citizens. I haven't even been told, have they got dual citizenship? Could we, you know, are they only Australian citizens? It is disgusting what's happening, and I can't stand their ideology, their belief. They hate Jews, they hate Christians, they hate our Western culture, and this is going to be impact on us in generations coming. I'll tell you nothing too. This is a win for these radicals in this country. To have these women brought back into Australia, it is a win for them, and it's a loss for Australia.
It's hard to disagree with any of that, because when you listen to the Australian Federal Police, clearly there are security concerns.
Some individuals will be arrested and charged. Some will face continued investigations when they arrive in Australia. And children who return in the cohort will be asked to undergo community integration programs.
So some charged, some watched by authorities. All this, of course, costing taxpayers a lot of money. The charges obviously relating to security concerns. The children who are the victims in all this, innocent victims, we understand that. But, of course, all of their care and integration and perhaps even de-radicalisation will be at the burden of Australian taxpayers too.
Of course it will be, Chris. And they've actually been working on the Silverwater detention centre or prison there to actually house them in that space. Even one of the fathers of one of these women said, don't bring her back to Australia. He didn't want his own daughter back in Australia. He understands. Not only these kids have been radicalised in these camps as well. You will never be able to trust these people. I don't care how many do-gooders are out there thinking they can change them and bring them back into society. You will never be able to do that with these people, because you will always be fearful of them. And I think that main Australians out there, if they're put in the educational system, will they ever trust them or believe them?
Well,
until we root out the evil of this Islamic ideology in this country, we're going to end up like Britain, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, you name it.
Well, this is what worries me so greatly about this, because we're all concerned about humanitarian issues with people who are now stateless in Syria and the rest of it. But our greatest security threat in this country is Islamist extremism. We've had 15 Australians shot dead on Bondi Beach just in December. We need governments to tackle the extremists, and they're letting in 4 adults who were part of ISIS. Now, if you listen to ASIO, they're trying to assuage or reassure the public, but it just points to how concerning this is. Here's the ASIO Director General.
So our job is to identify and understand the risks to returning individuals. We have done that. We've provided it to our mates in the police force, and the government understands our assessed risk. I'm not concerned immediately by their return, but they will get our attention, as you'd expect.
They've assessed the risk, they've made assessments, they've passed it on. The police are arresting some people. Of course, ASIO also assessed the 2 men, one who was dead and one who is allegedly a gunman at Bondi, assessed them and didn't follow up on them as well. Yet we're all supposed to be relaxed and comfortable about this now.
You've got 18,000 people on ASIO watch list, and I don't know who those people are or for what reason they're on the watch list. The fact is we don't know who these people are, and actually they're under-resourced, ASIO, to actually track and keep an eye on these people. We've seen this happen around the world. What happens now? We're at 4% of Muslims in the country, about 1 million people. I'm not saying all Muslims are radicals, by no means, and please don't take me the wrong way. But we actually have to be mindful of where we bring these people in from and which countries. And we've seen this happen constantly all the time around the world. So once they get numbers here, then they empower themselves into local, state and federal governments, they take over suburbs. We are being inundated now with those ones that are breeding in the country. We're paying for them to have their kids here. We've actually got Sharia law. It's happening. Building of mosques. It just constantly goes on and on. And Australians sit back and say, oh, well, what's your problem? You know, there is a big problem. And if you don't open up your eyes to see what the hell is happening in our country and learn from other countries and the mistakes that they've made in welcoming these people, you're going to suffer the consequences in time to come. And that's what I've got to say about the matter.
Pauline Hanson did not walk into that interview expecting to hold back. She came in furious, disgusted, and completely done with what she sees as the Australian government gambling with national security. And within seconds, the entire conversation exploded into one of the most controversial live TV clashes Australia has seen in years. This was not a calm political discussion. This was Pauline Hanson unloading everything she believes the government refuses to say out loud. She accused leaders of putting ideology ahead of public safety, blasted the decision to bring ISIS-linked families back into Australia, and warned that ordinary Australians would be the ones paying the price for generations to come. And then came the moment that changed the entire tone of the interview. When the host brought up the security assessments and reassurances from authorities, Hanson was not buying any of it, not even close. She pointed directly at past terror failures, questioned how intelligence agencies could realistically monitor thousands already on watch lists, and openly challenged the idea that Australians should simply trust the process. You could hear the frustration building with every answer. But what really stunned viewers was how far she went. Hanson claimed the government was too scared to even say the words Islamist extremism, while simultaneously allowing people connected to ISIS territory back into the country. Whether people agree with her or not, one thing became impossible to ignore. She was saying things on live television that most politicians would never dare touch. And while critics will call her comments harsh, supporters are already flooding social media saying she voiced concerns many Australians quietly feel but believe no major party wants to address publicly. Then suddenly, the interview shifted into complete chaos. Out of nowhere, the conversation turned to a heated confrontation involving a One Nation volunteer and Liberal Senator James Paterson during campaigning. Accusations of assault, shouting, phones being grabbed, the situation spiraled fast. But even there, Hanson moved quickly to distance herself from the incident, confirming the volunteer had been removed immediately and saying the party would cooperate with any investigation. Still, none of that overshadowed the real story here. Because this interview exposed something much bigger happening inside Australian politics right now. Public trust is collapsing, fear over extremism is rising again, and politicians are becoming increasingly divided over how far governments should go in the name of security, immigration, and humanitarian responsibility. Pauline Hanson did not sound like someone trying to soften her message for television. She sounded like someone who believes the country is heading toward a breaking point, and whether Australians see her as warning the nation or inflaming it. This interview made one thing crystal clear: the debate over national security, immigration, and extremism in Australia is nowhere near over.